Today we're in Jermuk, which is up in the mountains in kind of the southeastern part of Armenia. This is a resort town, believe it or not. And what you see behind me is an abandoned building. One of the cool things about Armenia, having been part of the Soviet Union, that when the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, there were so many buildings that were owned by the state, so many factories and cultural centers and everything, from just all kinds of buildings. And they were just abandoned. And some people bought some of the buildings and tried to renovate them and that sort of thing. But a lot of the buildings were just completely abandoned, like this one. Apparently this building was supposed to be a sanatorium for policemen. And they were in the process of building it when the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. And it just got left just like they just stopped building and left it like this. So you can come in and you can look at these buildings, and many of them, like, nobody really cares if you come in and explore. So we've been exploring all around in this building, and there are a ton of buildings like this in Jermuk alone. Jermuk is actually a very small town. It used to be much busier with tourists, but there are still tourists that come to Jermuk, and it's a great place to come and visit. We come here on our tours, but not near as many as there used to be. This apartment complex over here was actually a place where they housed prisoners at one time. And then after the Soviet Union fell, people started coming in and buying up these apartments. You could buy them. Even now you can buy one, they say, for about $5,000. And this is still occupied. People still live in there. They heat with wood because they don't have any other kind of heat. You can see how much snow. I mean, right now we're walking on about 3 feet of snow. Jermuk gets a lot of snow. And there are ski resorts up on this mountain up here. And the ski resorts have not been working since 2022 in September, when the Azeri army shelled this town, because we're only about 8 kilometers from the border of Azerbaijan off this direction. And they just attacked this town, obviously full of civilians and tourists. I don't know if anybody was killed in that attack, but it certainly put a damper on the tourism, you can imagine. But tourism is starting to come back a little bit. We're trying to do our part by bringing our tours back here. I'm not real worried about more attacks, because the European Union has people here now. This would be very, very bad for them if they were to kill some people from the European Union. So turn around and look up here. There's very interesting architecture on this building with these sort of balconies, I guess is what they were going to be. You can see how they build with this stone. This is called tuf. This is a common building material. It's very beautiful. It's done right, rough cut, and very, how they are drying their laundry here inside this little shack. This is life in the country in Armenia. So if you're coming on one of our tours in May, you might be able to explore some of these buildings with us. It'd be a good time. Look how much snow they have here. And they say this is a low year, that usually they get more snow than this. And here we are in the middle of March, and it's still snowing like crazy out here. That is a little tour of one of the buildings that you find that were abandoned by the Soviet Union. It's just fascinating to me, because you just don't find another place in the world, other places in the world other than the former Soviet Union, where there was an entire system, an entire government, an entire worldview in place, and it just collapsed overnight and left a whole bunch of buildings empty, and a bunch of people that just didn't really know what to do and had to pick up from there. So one more reason not to trust the government to provide for you because when the government goes away, all of a sudden you're not going to have those things that you were accustomed to having. You know, I have seen a place like this in the United States, and it was Detroit, where so much industry went away as people moved out of the city because of the crime rate, that a lot of big factories and stuff shut down, and they just left the buildings looking like this. But in this case, there's no crime in this town. The place I am right now is called Tatev, and it's a small village up in the mountains of Sunik province. Actually, you can see those mountains back there. They're absolutely gorgeous. But these buildings are here because the Soviet Union left, the government collapsed, and nobody was around to keep them going. This is the monastery of Tatev, which is about 1,500 years old. And so it was here long before the Soviet Union came to be, and it will be here long afterwards as well. Just a slight difference of what it means when you build something for the glory of God as opposed to the glory of the state.